Hello, everybody. We are live on Your Cosmic Connection, and my name is Christina, and this is Suandra, and we're gonna be talking about some astrology. Hello, Suandra.
Hi. Hi.
So, please tell us a little more about yourself and how did you get into astrology, and then we're gonna cover all aspects of the stars and everything else.
Okay. So, astrology. Astrology, I've come to understand that I came here with it, with the understanding of it. I was interested in my younger years, and then there came, I had a major health crisis, and after that, everything seemed to escalate and go into where I learned to actually calculate charts, and this was 50 years ago.
Okay.
So back then we didn't have computers. I learned to construct a chart, which was very helpful because it gave me a sense of planetary movement and what planets were where, when, things like that by doing them by hand.
Okay.
Before, it was a good many years before we had computers and you could buy your own program, things like that. So I've been working with astrology, learning different ways of utilizing it ever since. Ever since. Also, very much on a spiritual path and viewing astrology as a way of reading the energy dynamics that are supporting all of us in the movement of life. It's like there's an energy that's always present, and the astrology gives me the ability to understand the dynamics that are at play right now and where they're going. And then when we apply that to someone's chart, we're able to see more specifically how it's affecting them personally, because there's many different ways that it shows up, different depending on someone's life and what they've lived so far. It has a lot to do with what happens now and in the future.
So would you say then, let's say some people, when you say something talked about astrology, some people think, oh, daily horoscopes that you read it in the newspaper,
I discourage that.
Yes.
I discourage that because there's for sure at least 10 influences that we look at when we read a chart. So your sun sign certainly is one of those influences, but your moon is also important. There's where all the planets are and their relationship to one another, and it keeps moving. So it's just very fascinating. I never had a time where I felt bored or discouraged because there's always new, and the community, there's more and more, I call them, we're recognizing more planets or bodies of energy that are out there. The more we develop telescopes, we're able to see further into the space, and then we realize that there's more going on than we've known up till that point. But they were still there, and they were still influencing us.
We just didn't know they exist, right?
Right.
And then would you say that, because I personally take things personally on me, in terms of, let's say something is going on in my life, and then I would be like, oh, it's my fault, or oh, I did that. But sometimes it's
well, the planets, you end up, by looking through astrology, you have a different lens, and you see that there's influence going on that's causing certain things that go on in your life, really, that are opportunities for healing and growth. And depending on what planets and how it is hitting your personal chart, there's various things that can show and have understanding, more understanding of yourself, more understanding of the dynamics that are at work.
Right. And it's not like this is how we're born, this is our chart, and flat line, this is how we're going to be through life. It's constantly changing.
Constantly changing, and there's many things. We talk about transits. Transits are the influence of the planets where they currently are. But there's also something called progressions, where we're looking at the chart, and the rule of thumb is a day for a year. So how old are you?
46.
So if we were looking at your progressions, we'd be looking at a chart for 46 days after you were born. And it taught me that we're not finite. We continue to shift and evolve, and the progressions help us understand that.
Progression. So it's more like progressions play the role of your own evolution.
It gives you information towards that, for sure. Along with the outer planets. I mean, right now we are under such incredible influences. All the 5 outer planets that create generational cycles, they're all changing signs, and they're all interacting with one another, which is bringing about major movement. We look out there and we can see it going on in the social world, but in our own world, we're all having to make shifts and understand. And having an understanding of that helps you allow it and move with it, rather than be going, oh no, what is this? What's happening? Yes. So part of my own background, okay? So eventually there came a time where my husband and I took over a store on this order. And we operated that store in California for over 30 years. The store had been there for 42 years, and that was an amazing thing because it exposed me to authors and people that were teaching various things, and just really expanded my understanding and background and what I have to offer, lots of things like that. And then in 2002, I was attracted to frequency and frequency healing, and got involved with being what was called then a quantum biofeedback practitioner. So I've also been doing work with people to help them break up the patterns that they are holding in their body and things that cause various things, especially illness.
Biofeedback. So for you, you're like talking about it, and I do too. I talk about a lot of things, and for me, it's like I understand what I'm talking about. For some people, it's a foreign language. Can you explain a little more what it is?
Well, like this system is something where I call it strapping up, wrist and ankle straps and a head harness, and the system is able to form a connection with your energy field, and then it puts out frequencies of various different substances and gets a response, and then that response is analyzed by the computer system, and it gives us direction as to which programs, which therapies to run, where there's imbalances, many things like that. And that changes. I mean, I've been using that system for myself, along with many people, but tomorrow's my birthday and I'll be 81 years old.
Oh my goodness!
And,
wow!
And my health is, the doctors think I'm an anomaly because I don't manifest a lot of the things that people do at my age, but I've come to understand that that's because we've accumulated all these traumas, and how we eat, lots of things affect how the body grows and matures or doesn't. And with the system, the biofeedback system, I'm able to help that break up and change, and so people can overcome different things.
So that's your basically biofeedback system. It's your own personal doctor with any biases and trying to sell you medications. It just tells you the way it is, right?
Well, it shows me where there's need to work. I can identify the need to change diet, different things that it'll show me things I'm allergic to. It'll help me not change it, but it helps you even overcome the allergies. Like my mother, in her later years, we kept her much more comfortably because we could alleviate the allergy symptoms, and she'd go, wow, my eyes aren't itching. You know,
because so many people are experiencing allergies, and like if you look back even like 20-30 years ago, I mean there's not a lot of allergies were going on. It's just more and more.
Well, there's more and more things in our atmosphere. There's
and food,
in our food. There's just many things that are challenging people, and the biofeedback, the frequencies are a major thing. So between that and the understanding of astrology, here I am.
You can use those tools to get to know yourself in a much deeper level, a more personal level, and just beyond the traditional way we are, thought that humans are.
Right, right.
Mm-hmm.
I've tried my best to avoid pharmaceuticals.
Same.
And stick with natural things. And
we do come from the nature, so why do we need to all of a sudden be like, no, millions years of nature we discarded, now we have the science and chemicals, and we create the chemical pharmaceutical
but we're
things.
not made of chemicals.
Exactly. I mean, we are, but natural chemicals.
Yeah.
Not the
Yeah.
So sorry, big pharma, but not sorry. It's like it's just that disconnection. It's very interesting how, and people believe in all those things. Where all of a sudden we're disconnected. Not all of a sudden. When time goes, we are slowly disconnected from the nature, and it's like, here's the pill, here's the pill, here's the
we
pill.
could get off into a whole discussion about how people are trained to look to doctors.
Right.
A few years ago, when Saturn and Pluto were meeting up, Saturn having a lot to do with authority in your life, and Pluto will bring regeneration and transformation. So I was sort of challenging people. Who's the authority in your life? Who do you give authority to? Doctor, your parents, and encouraging them to look at themselves as needing to be the authority. You can go and confer with doctors and whoever, but you still need to pay attention, because your body, your intuition can let you know what's right for you and what's not. And if you spend too much of your time giving over your authority to doctors and other teachers and things like that, where are you in charge of your own life?
Right. And then you also start losing your own essence, because if you're just giving your pieces of yourself to others and allow them to run your life, then at the end, what's left? Like who you really are,
Exactly.
The question is if you're...
Exactly.
And I feel like now when we're going through awakening of collective and humanity in general, people are waking up to these thoughts.
More and more.
Oh, where do I come from? Who am I? What's my purpose? It's like the biggest questions. Oh, what's my purpose in this life?
Well, and purpose can be very
big.
Yes.
Broad. Yes.
And multiple. Everybody. We're not here with one purpose.
Yeah, but at least is the question arose in their heads, because very often people are just on autopilot. They wake up, coffee, news, newspaper, whatever, do their business, dress up, go to work, work 8-10 hours, whatever, come back, watch TV, eat, and it's kind of like this rat race, and do it again, and copy and paste, and it's like there's no like thinking. It's like, what are you doing? You're just a lot of people run on autopilot.
Yes, well, we're in a time when people are waking up and realizing that there's more to life than what they've been believing or been led to believe, and having there's lots of tools available, lots of ways. Astrology is one way to get to know yourself better. The energy sessions are really great too, looking at what might be the underlying issues of a physical challenge of sorts. It's very fascinating, and it's exciting to me, and by having more understanding, you can move away from being fearful. A lot of people are being fearful because they don't understand, and they see things that they thought were there forever falling apart, changing, and then that makes them uncomfortable. So by knowing what's up with your own chart and why you're in certain patterns or things are manifesting, can be very, very, very helpful, and to make you more comfortable, so you can allow yourself to move through the changes without getting sick or having.
And there's also
challenges.
It goes on in phases too, right? There's some certain time in your life, let's say up to 30, you're going through certain.
Well, sure. Well, the planets are cyclical, like Saturn. When you say 30, well, Saturn takes between 28 to 29 years to make one trip around the sun. So you have a Saturn return at the end of your 20s, and then you examine your reality and who you've given the ability to dictate who you are or what you do. So there's a lot of changes happen then, and then 28, 29 years later, towards the end of the 50s, it happens again. And there's a correlation between the first time and the next time. And you, like from an astrologer's point of view, you look at what's happened with this person between those two time markers and see how they've developed, what they've done, because there's certain things that are available from there. You know, like the second cycle is really about self-actualization. The first 28, 29 years, a lot of what you're living from is from your what you were taught is in school and your parents, and so you start out in certain directions, but come the end of your 20s, now things are such that you question and start looking, and then spend the next cycle actualizing what you personally are choosing, not what you've been encouraged to.
That's beautiful. So now we're talking about Saturn in particular. Can you tell us a little more about like what Saturn influences on the global level, and where is Saturn now?
Well, Saturn can be government. Saturn can be the different structures, different. Like I said to people, who's the authority? Because we tend to see Saturn as an authoritative influence. And part of why things are so crazy is because Saturn has been, the planets move so far, and then it appears as though they move what we call retrograde, like they're moving backwards. They aren't actually moving backwards, but it's the view from where the Earth and the Sun is that they seem to move backwards. So Saturn got moved into the sign of Aries, which is the first sign of the zodiac, and so it's starting a whole new 29-year cycle from Aries around through Pisces again. At the moment, it had moved back into Pisces, so it went into Aries, then it moves back, and so we have a window where we can look at the old patterns and make decisions about and work on releasing the energy that we're carrying that no longer serves us, but we had given it power by seeing it as an authoritative energy in our life. So it's leaving. It's actually going direct tomorrow, and then it will move forward, and then after the first of the year, it'll go into Aries.
Okay, that actually kind of aligns energetically, because majority of people celebrate January 1st is the beginning of the year, and then in astrology, the beginning starts with Aries, right?
The beginning of the zodiac is Aries, and actually that starts March 20th, 21st in that area, and that's the beginning of spring, is Aries. But the other thing that's happening right now is also that the planet Neptune is also moving into Aries, and it went in once already, but it also has retrograded. So it currently is in Pisces.
Okay. And so Neptune and Saturn are in Pisces.
Yes.
And then Saturn, January 1st, it's going...
Well, not on January 1st. It's direct, but it'll be after sometime in January.
Okay.
It'll be into Aries. Okay, so here's what's coming about.
Yeah.
February 20th, Saturn and Neptune will be together exactly at the 0 degrees of Aries. And that's a major happening. These two big influences are starting, and for Neptune, it's 165 years to make one trip around the sun.
Oh, wow.
So them both being at the beginning of Aries, it's like major change.
Major change and shift on.
And the astrology community has been researching the history, trying to find when they met up at that degree in the past. Maybe 7,000 to 9,000 years ago.
Wow.
So this is a really important timing, and many of the different people in the astrology world are saying they're reluctant to even try to put form on what that's going to look like.
It's going to be I feel like it's going to be very revolutionary.
Very much so.
About 10,000 years ago, plus minus, feminine energy was more suppressed, and then kind of like masculine rose, and it was more like we were tapping into the patriarchy,
Mm-hmm.
where the mind and the brain rules, and all
Yes.
the the
And it's-
intuition and creation kind
And
of
the
was
female thing is showing
Yeah.
up because the president of Venezuela is a woman.
Mhm.
There's different places where women are taking leadership.
Mhm.
Mexico, I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure that the leader there is also a female.
Mhm.
So a lot of things of that, we're seeing that come to where the female influence is
Yeah.
being.
So just gonna watch, basically, let's watch what's going on and see what's happening on February 20th and after, right?
Yeah, well, and
Just
in
pay
between now and
attention.
then, pay attention to your own self and your own processes, and any patterns or anything that are old. Do your best to release them and not carry them forward, because if they're no longer serving, you certainly don't want them in the new thing.
Right.
Like
And then Neptune is Saturn is more like authority, and Neptune is what?
Neptune is about spirituality, and into it can be creativity, heightened creativity, and vision. So the best way to work with these two is to create a vision that Saturn can come along and bring into reality. And why it's important to not be fearful and be careful, because part of Neptune is it supports the vision, but it also, in its negative expressions, can be delusion, can be escapism. So people need to be aware to not overindulge in alcohol or drugs or anything like that. It's not that you can't have them in your life, but you don't want to let them take you over, or using them to escape your reality or what's really happening.
So would you suggest, let's say, whoever's going to be watching this later, to take a look at their own natal chart and see where Saturn is, where Neptune is?
Yeah, well, and not just those two, because Pluto's recently changed signs and gone into Aquarius. It's going to be in Aquarius for 20 years.
Oh, wow.
So
and we're entering the era of Aquarius for 26,000
we've been moving toward the age of Aquarius for some time, and nobody's ever been able to say, well, it starts today.
It's a process.
It's a process, yes. So Pluto is in the early degrees of Aquarius. Uranus has gone into Gemini, and it recently been retrograding and retrograded back to Taurus right now. So you'll hear a lot of stirring about finances and things of the more material nature being examined and determined. Is this working? Is it not working? What can it change? And then it'll, next year it will go into Gemini for sure for 7 years. So we have these long-term influences that are changing. So it's changing all sorts of things. And we are in a cycle now of air. For the Saturn and Jupiter interaction is very interesting. They meet up with one another every 20 years, and for 200 years they meet in the same element. So for 200 years they were meeting in Earth signs up until 2020. January of 2020, they met in Aquarius. And from now on, they will continue to meet in air signs for the next 200 years. So that's a big, big change. Everybody, part of why we can see people not wanting to own so much, like get rid of things, lighten your load, so to speak. Everything's
going from the earthy material to more like movement,
consciousness and thinking. The air signs are much more about being mental, especially with the Gemini influence. Gemini definitely has a lot to do with communication and our thinking processes. So all of that is in the process of being evolved. let's say.
Feels like the next year is really coming to like these, when you're staying, they're staying in the longer term and all those years and those signs and
Yes.
all these changes and coming. And in numerology, next year is year 1 as a beginning. This year is year 9.
Yes.
Which
so
is the
adds
completion
to the
and everything.
ending of old stuff.
And it's like when people think, oh, it's just stars, are just numbers. No, it's not. It's like all vibration and frequency, and you are vibration
Well,
and
there's
frequency. So it's
an
influencing
energetic field that we are all living within, and it permeates all of life. And by understanding the planetary things, I feel very fortunate to have a view of what's going on that's not threatening, that's just, it's the natural process. And mankind has had a tendency to resist things changing, and that makes it harder.
Right.
It makes it harder and doesn't allow you to have the fullness of what's being made available through these processes.
True. And it's like, I feel like when you use your own chart, it's like, yeah, it's gonna show you some maybe imperfections or something, but it's okay. It just gives you a tool to understand you better, how you function.
Yes,
and then also remove the judgment, because we've been trained to act and do and think in a certain way. But if you understand that you maybe are built a little differently, planets are influencing you a little differently, nothing wrong with you to act and feel in a different way than the majority, and not feeling guilty about it, you know, because I feel like a lot of guilt is like constantly it's dripped into.
Well, Neptune can be considered part of the feeling guilty kind of thing. You know, reasons to escape your reality.
Right.
So it's like coming up out of that and having more trust. More trust
and bringing out more your authenticity, because you know it's like you don't have to look like Kardashians or something.
Exactly.
You have your own unique essence, and that's the beauty of it. And you know, I feel like with all those changes and everything, people are going to be waking up actually and be like, no, actually, this is so beautiful the way I am. I don't need to do the big lips and big butts and big this and, you know, all the crazy.
Yes,
they look like everyone else, you know.
Your body doesn't like artificial things, you know, and I've often said that mankind can be short-sighted in thinking that something's good, but only 2 years later have an effect. You know, like how many women had breast implants?
Yeah.
Where when you get older, your body will do things because it's wanting to get rid of what, you know, what's not natural.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and then it's a big deal to get them removed.
Right, and just it's another story about all this.
Yeah,
but it's it's
like you say, the big lips and you know, like wanting to.
It comes from like not having confidence about yourself, you know, and it's like it could stem, of course, from childhood. But again, you can use astrology to figure out how were you born, what planets are influencing you, what, and see all the transits and everything, and see how are you changing, and then use that as a tool to see yourself of who you really are.
Yes,
and
that you can see that it supports you to move forward and be a fulfilled person. You know,
exactly.
Doing the things that.
And then some things too, you can like if you're maybe lacking in a certain way. Mine has always been financial, right? All my life, it's no matter what I'm doing, there's like ups and downs, but it's constant. It's not like where I would love to be. And my Saturn is in the second house, and
that
second
says a
house
lot about that.
Yes,
because Saturn, second house is resources.
Right.
Your personal resources. The opposite house, the 8th house, is shared resources. So there's always a balance going on.
I don't think I have any planets in the 8th house, to be honest.
Yeah, well, there's a sign on the 8th house, so there is an 8th house influence. It's just
okay.
because the chart, all signs are represented in the whole chart when you're looking at the whole chart.
Right.
Depending on where the planets are placed, there's more emphasis there, but you still have these other influences, and at points in your life, things transit those areas and form relationships to the planets in your chart. It's
So let's say if someone is new to astrology, or maybe they got, you know, it's like listening this, or like, oh, this is interesting, let me maybe have a new approach and use astrology to understand myself better. What do you like for natal chart? To run your natal chart, you need your birthday, the place where you were born, right? The
Yes,
city
and the time of day.
and the time
hopefully.
of day.
And if you don't have the time of day, there's still information available. There's just things we can't be sure about. Like the moon moves 12 degrees in a day. So if you were, well, if you don't know your birth time, I'll do a chart and use noon, and because it's midday. So I know that the moon will be 6 degrees in either direction.
So it could be either that or either that.
Yes, but that still gives us information.
Right. And
Rather
then,
than the moon could be
let's
1
say-
of 12, it's now 1 or maybe 1 or 2,
right.
depending.
So let's say, for example, I don't know my time, right? And my moon is like either it's Scorpio or it's Sagittarius.
Right.
And then you can read the description of how the moon is operating in Scorpio and Sag.
Right.
And then you can be like, oh, I resonate more with this.
Exactly.
Then that could be
And
the
as
guidance,
as
right?
a reader, I can tell by the conversations more and what people will share about their lives where their moon probably is.
And you said you've been doing this for 50 years now? Okay, so you probably met all different kind of walks of life and everything.
All sorts of people,
Yeah.
all sorts of teachers. Some of the who I consider the more in-depth astrology people have passed.
Do you feel like they are assisting you from
Well, I
non-physical?
feel assisted from the unseen world in a lot of ways. A lot of ways. I have a team, I'm told.
Okay, your guides and
When I
everything.
say I'm protected, and the question is by who? It's the team. And,
And you said you came with astrology, so would you say that you were interested in astrology since you like very little? Or-
since I was very young, and I had pocket paperback books that I could look in and see where someone's Mercury was, where most people my age, they might know their sun sign or maybe not even that. And it was very interesting for me with that to know that.
And then you started with the books, and then it kind of progressed into
Then after the health challenge, I had a cousin. My cousin introduced me to a gentleman that taught me how to actually calculate a chart, the things you had to do to know right at what degree and things of that nature. And I had 2 half-hour sessions with him, and I knew it.
That's your calling.
Yeah, well, and I knew that it was just because it's not a simple process to figure out how far the planets moved since midnight one day and midnight the next. But that came really easy to me, so that was one of the indications that I've done this. This is not a new thing.
Right.
Yeah.
When I was young, I was like, I don't know, 11, 12, and I had the astrology book. I don't know where I got it, somewhere. And I was reading it, and probably not just one astrology book, and I was just reading about the signs, the kind of, the characteristics of the people of the zodiac, plus, minus, and I was so in it, and I was just really soaking up all this information that I was literally, after talking to someone for like 2 minutes, I'm like, you're Sagittarius. Are you Gemini? And they're like, how did you know? And I'm like, well, the way you are and the way you talk and walk and your maybe expression.
Try not to try to guess, because sometimes what someone's expressing is maybe more their moon or their ascendant, so it's not. So I try not, I don't let people say, tell me, what sign am I?
It was but it was out of my own curiosity.
Sure.
And they didn't ask me, and then it was just, and they were surprised, like, how did you know? And I feel like maybe in that way it could be sparking interest in them too. Be like, oh wow, you can, detect. And back then I didn't know that there's such thing as rising sign or moon signs or anything. I just knew the zodiacs when I was like 30 something years ago. So
Right, and when people are looking and they the name Linda Goodman.
Mhm.
Linda Goodman wrote a book called Sun Signs, and lots of people read that. But then I try to help them realize that that's just your sun sign.
Yeah.
That isn't your whole story. You know, like realize that. Don't take what's said there as the end all be all, that there's more to it than that. And the progressions, I mean, the progressions, the life unfolds. Being at my age, my sun is in Sagittarius, but right now it's progressed to toward the end of Aquarius. And when I look back at my life, I can see how that influence is played out, because that means it progressed through the whole sign of Sagittarius and the whole sign of Capricorn, and then it moved to Aquarius.
Oh, okay. Because I wasn't sure what's progression, how to look at it, but no.
Yeah, well, then they progress right along, and the idea that your progressions are a day for a year, that says that a child born, the first 90 days has significant parallels to 90 years of their life.
90 years?
Yes, one day for a year.
Oh, okay.
So I've encouraged a pregnant mother to consider keeping a journal for those 90 days. Don't have to make a lot of entry, but you know, we went to the doctor, or so-and-so visited, or we took this trip, things that might show up another time.
Because when you're saying that, I didn't know that, and thank you for sharing. Now I know what my mom was going through when I was born, and what I was going through when I was born, and now it's like, oh my God, now it makes sense. Because there's a lot of rocky things and a lot of like big changes actually. Even like my name, my last name changed because when I was born, my mom divorced my dad and she gave me her maiden name. And again, it's the frequency of in numerology, it's your destiny number when you break down the letters to the one number. And then 3 months later, there's a situation where she was. We couldn't stay there, so she had to go back to my dad because she had nowhere to go. And my older sister, she was 3 years old at that time. And then in those 90 days, basically, we had to go back, and my mom was unhappy because, you know, she left him and now she has to go back. And then my last name was changed to my dad's last name. It changed the frequency.
Yes.
And when I look from numerology perspective, my destiny number is 8, my life path is 9, and then the names are changing, the destiny and then the life path, they're clashing. Those are clashing numbers, and it says that to kind of like have a harmony in your life to get to like what you came here to do, it's gonna take a longer time in your life to achieve that.
Because you've got something
yes,
causing interference.
Yeah, and it's now I'm like, I think I'm approaching where I'm kind of, you know, going in the direction where I'm meant to go. And it's I like to combine astrology, numerology, and then human design as well.
Sure.
So I feel like it's a good package to explore yourself of who you really are.
Yes.
So for the signs, again, I'm speaking from perspective that people new to astrology. Usually it's like you need to pay attention to your sun sign, your rising sign, and your moon sign, right? Those are like the major...
Pretty much, but I suggest that people consider touching in with an astrologer once a year so that you can know what other influences are happening. You can know about those things, but the movement and the interaction from the planets cause shifting and changing in your life. So if you are aware of what influences are ahead of you, then you're more able to decide how you want that to go, not just take potluck, I say.
Right, okay,
you know, you can put more form on what your inspirations are, what you want to do with your life, and then work with it to help you. Because sometimes it's not time yet. You know,
you're right.
There's timing.
Would you say to get that information you use the solar return?
The solar return does give us a window, a look at things, but the transits and the transit progressions, it's good to know. It's like, for instance, Uranus in my chart was retrograde when I was born, and last year it went direct by progression.
Mm.
It's in my 7th house of relationships, and a 40-year marriage ended because he passed away when Uranus shifted directions in my 7th house.
Wow.
So
you can kind of use the charts almost like predict a little bit your
yeah,
future.
I can say to you, I'd say, Christina, you're going to have this shift in this energy, and we can talk about what that energy's like, and you can talk about your life and in respect to that energy to see what's really going on. I mean, I knew he wasn't well. He had dementia, but I thought it was very significant that that planet is in my house of relationships.
And you kind of knew that that's inevitable?
Yeah. I mean, what he was dealing with was not going to go away.
Yeah. And I'm sorry for your loss.
Yes, well, thank you.
Yeah.
Life goes on.
Yeah.
And he's around, you know.
Just not in a body.
Yes. He was leaving his body a long time before he actually passed. And so it was, I think he just let the body go.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It wasn't serving him anymore.
So would you say that he kind of left the body in the middle of the progression of dementia?
Well, it was the dementia, the effects of dementia that caused his body to not work properly.
Right. So his consciousness wasn't there anymore, what you're saying?
Not as a physical expression. He lost his ability to communicate, but his presence was there. We were very connected on a spiritual level, so that never stopped. I mean, I've shared with people that during the latter months we were together, and we knew we were together. It wasn't like his consciousness wasn't there. It just wasn't filtering through his speech.
Okay. So you can still, because I know my mom, she was taking care of my grandma for 10 years, and she had dementia, and then she passed last year on Halloween. Actually, it was interesting, and it was a big loss from my mom, you know, but she was really struggling because it was like my grandma was bedridden, diapers, you know, she would rip the diapers off, like smear poop all over. It's just like, it was really gnarly experience. But my mom is not tapped into the non-physical, and I was thinking like she just saw the physical, but I was wondering because it's mother-daughter relationship, right?
Sure.
It's so important, and it's such a big connection, and it's like my mom taking care of my grandma's body, but I was like wondering, it's like how, like where my grandma, that the consciousness, you know, physically she's not functioning, doesn't understand anything, right? But in the non-physical, she's still there, and she's assisting my mom, or?
Well, he was there. I sense I can go to sleep at night feeling him near me, and
okay.
Yeah, but it's hard to say for sure, like with your mom and your grandmother, without knowing them, and hopefully anyone who's dealing with a loved one with dementia, that because I knew, I didn't know exactly when, but I knew that his life was not going to continue indefinitely, and so I was more prepared. To know that that's what was happening. And, I mean, even we had lived in Las Vegas for a short time, and we moved here because my son was here, and we knew then that he was starting down that path. So I wanted to be near where I had more support, and had people near me, so it wasn't so difficult. You know, again, awareness. You know,
awareness. Yeah, you're right.
Awareness, and I'd helped both my parents pass when it was their time, so it wasn't my first go round with the death process. And
because it's a tough subject, and I mean, again, I feel like now in society we fear the death, but death is the cycle of life, and everything is very like cyclical in life in general. And in other cultures like tribes and whatnot, they celebration of life instead of mourning over death.
Yes.
And it's kind of, I don't know.
Well, and we were, me and some of the people around me, we were talking about that because I wanted to stop people from saying, I'm sorry. I understood what they meant, but that wasn't really helpful.
Yeah, true.
And we had an amazing relationship, and I'm very grateful for that. Very, very grateful for that.
Right. Are there planets that are influencing the transition part, like the death?
That's difficult because I have the 8th house has to do with Pluto and death oftentimes. So that's where my Saturn is, my North Node's there. So throughout my life, I've had people pass, cousins, young, things that were not like what you might consider more normal, like you get old and eventually die. So I've been around that kind of thing before, and developed an understanding that, like my mother I think was praying to be taken because she missed my dad so much. And she would say, I've done everything I wanted to do with my life. So she felt complete, So, and then for me, my job was to be okay with that. Yeah. It's not like you have to stay here as long as you possibly can, which I think happens sometimes with people who are ill, that they fight it and fight it and fight it. And, everybody's on their own time level, so right or wrong, but the fighting it is difficult and sad and
my mom was fighting for my grandma. I feel like she, as a soul, she was ready to go, because she was, the way my grandma was and the way was she at the end of her life, two different things, because she was always dressed up and she was like having a garden. I mean, she was an alcoholic too, but she had these like very kind of like feminine and like business like lady things going on, and then at the end she was
they lose all ability to
but my mom couldn't let her go. She was just dragging through, and she's like, of course she wanted her to stay. I understand from that perspective.
But the quality of life was gone.
And I was telling my mom, it's like, just it's like, what is her quality of life? She's just sitting in the room by herself, not understanding where she's at. And there's a lot of fear too, because there's no like long-term memory. Some memories come from like the previous years, but there's no short-term memory, and they kind of like are really in the present moment. And then they don't remember who the people are, and I feel like they feel a lot of fear because someone comes in the room, they don't know who they are, just constantly bombarding this new stuff, and then hearing is damaged, and the sight and everything, and it's just like that quality of life is not a good life to live.
And everybody's in their own journey, like how they I'm not afraid of death. I think it's not so much that people are afraid of death, they're afraid of how they'll die.
And it's better not to know, because you're going to overthink about it.
Yes, don't give it, don't give it a lot of energy.
Right.
Where you focus is where you're putting your energy, big time. And so it's better to focus on
what you have now, not what you're going to have there.
Well, and to trust, faith is a big thing, and especially around the end of life.
Yeah.
It's like having faith that everything's just in divine order, and you'll do fine.
Your team will be there, and you'll go through.
Yes. Even when my father was passing, it was suggested that we pray to one of his family members that had already passed, because they felt like he missed the opening. He had so much resistance, and so we called to his mother, to my grandmother, to come help him.
And I heard when people had near-death experience, they're saying actually it's not bad, it's actually a glorious experience.
Yes.
And it feels so amazing, and they feel love and supported. They don't want to come back. And then sometimes the beings who meet them in the middle, they're like, well, If you go further, you won't be able to come back. So you need to decide, are you checking out knowing that it's not your time, or you're gonna go back and finish
Yeah,
your life
well,
here?
I think that death is, there are no accidents.
Yeah.
When people pass, that is what's appropriate, even though it may not look like that to everybody else, but it is appropriate, and people don't leave by accident.
True. Yeah.
Yeah.
We switched from astrology to death. I don't know how this conversation went there, but it's astrology. Everything is cyclical.
Exactly.
The planets and everything, and death is a part of the cyclical life. So it plugs in.
Yes.
In the rounds.
Yes. Many patterns that are definitely a cycle.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
multiple cycles within cycles.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. It's not as easy as we think. Speaking of what you do here in your Cosmic Connection, do you have classes here?
Yes.
What are you offering?
Well, every Tuesday we let's talk astrology. So a group of us gather, and we always look at where the planets are now in relationship to the charts of the people who attend the class, and then we'll look at different things about astrology that you can do that help you understand and have better handle on your life.
And what time are your classes on Tuesdays?
Noon.
No.
From noon to 1:30, and then on occasion I have taught a workshop of various things. I'm working on a series of classes that'll be around the work that I was taught about getting on time with your life and all of the different planetary cycles and how.
And so the series, will you be teaching here at your Cosmic Connection?
Yes.
Oh, how exciting!
Quite. It'll be after February 20th.
Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah, because I know that'll be a whole new.
People gonna be very operating in a very different plane. I feel
Absolutely. Absolutely, and I think a lot of us, like yourself and myself, is to know that the general population is going to be extremely stirred up. So we need to be available to help those that are seeking help to have a better understanding and maneuver through the new energies that are going to be in full play next year.
Right. And then series are like, is it going to be like a course of like, what's the
I haven't put it on. I have to get all the information that I want to share, and then back it down into segments that are so you can learn so much, and then work with that a little bit, and then take another piece and add that.
So for those, would you suggest, let's say people are listening, watching us now, if they're interested to learn, would you suggest for them to start from the very beginning, or it's possible to plug in and just kind of like start in the middle of the series, or what's the?
Well, the series would definitely be for someone that's definitely wanting to know more and work more with astrology. Like, I really appreciate what Sue Lusk does, because she gives people the basics of astrology, and then I can take it from there for the people who want to go further.
Right.
Further and
So, but let's say you have series going on for, I don't know, 4 months, for example.
Okay.
And can I come in, let's say someone is watching this, I don't know, 3 months from now, and they're like, oh man, I'm interested, but you're in the middle of this series. Can they come in and plug in, and that's okay?
We could have a conversation, see what kind of background they already have, you know, so they're not like totally clueless to jump in. Because coming on Tuesdays is a good thing, because
to get the basics.
Well, you'll have the basics, and we're looking at your personal chart and working with things that are current, and then seeing where people want to go from there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I need to come on Tuesday, because I do have questions. I know my natal chart plus minus, but all the transits and everything is interesting.
Yes.
To explore. And then you do also like a personal readings, right, via Zoom?
Oh, well, I use Zoom if you're not local, but otherwise I meet with people in person and read their charts for them.
So you run the chart, and then just.
If I'm going to do a full reading,
Mhm.
I do the natal chart, I do the progressions, the transits. We kind of look at
Mhm.
all of it and see.
What about like solar return? Is that a separate session or that's included?
We can look at a solar return and throw that in there too.
Mhm.
It's sometimes it depends. It just depends on what's all we're seeing. Right now, I'm working with someone whose nephew's getting married, and they chose a date in April that I went, oh my God, all these planets are going to be within 60 degrees. You figured the whole zodiac is 360, and when you get everything in just this one corner, like of the wheel, that's pretty intense. And so it looks like the couple will still have a reception on that day, but they're going to get married earlier, so they won't be under this.
Oh, because a lot of things could go wrong? Or?
Well, it could be very chaotic and challenging, and
the weather, the cake drop.
Well, not just the day of the wedding, the influence of all these planets, like getting Saturn and Mars together.
Not a good thing?
Not for a wedding. If you're business partners, maybe, but not. And then you add 3 other planets to that, so they're all like this, and it's
interesting.
Yeah, it's intense, and I'd say I wouldn't get married then.
Right.
It's like no.
Okay.
And in doing that, like I help people pick wedding days, but we look at both their charts, and then we look at what their plans are for their future. What do they see, so that when they get married, that chart forms a support.
Right.
Energetic support for what they're wanting with their life.
That's so beautiful. Wow.
Yeah.
Amazing. And where people can find you for that?
Well, they can contact me through your Cosmic Connection.
Do you want to share maybe your email, phone number, anything like that, or? What's your preference? Do you have a website, or?
I don't have a website at the moment. The best way is probably. Contact the store.
Contact the store. So please call your Cosmic Connection, and I don't know the phone number on the top of my head because we have smartphones and we don't remember the numbers anymore.
Right.
And yes, and then ask for Suandra's services,
yes.
Right? And for the astro reading.
And then I'll call them and make a connection.
Wonderful.
Okay.
Awesome. Well, did you want to add anything else before we close the conversation?
No, but I really appreciate you doing this.
Thank you.
Hopefully people will gain insights from this conversation.
Curiosity. They're like,
yes.
They're planets. They're influencing me. Let me run my natal chart. Let's see what happens.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much and happy birthday.
Thank you.
You look fabulous.
Thank you.
Awesome. All right. And then we're complete.
Good.
All right. Bye, everybody. Okay.